not join the webinar. And on Facebook, we can create audiences so that we can actually know who that 35 to 40% is inside Facebook. So we'd create a separate ad for them that says, hey, I see you joined the boot camp, but I've got a free webinar. Don't you want to come join me for 90 minutes? We'll work on this together. And like literally my ad will be that straightforward. Just because I'm talking to someone, I'm being very direct about their current situation and where they are in my funnel. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that is great. I would literally just take Breakthrough Mastery out and free course or free boot camp or whatever, pop that in there. And also the other thing is instead of putting the name of the program, which automatically in my head says sell, sell, buy, buy, I put the word free course. I keep it general so I can jam free in there. Or I'll say Breakthrough Bootcamp, parentheses, 100% free, close parentheses, and then keep talking so that I immediately eliminate that concern of like, oh my God, he's going to sell me something. So it's just like, it's free. Just, click and come over. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go over one of your other ads?
Yeah, sure. I guess I'll also do Breakthrough Mastery.
Sure.
I guess the angle I was kind of getting was kind of just get people thinking about what their peak productivity could be. That's like a pretty wide approach. You can like get a lot of people. So I opened with how much more could you accomplish while working at peak productivity? And the second line was being an entrepreneur is more than a career choice, it's a lifestyle. I actually did like a full thing for all of these, but I'm not going to read it all.
Okay. All right. I'd probably say a little bit more specific because I still can't walk away from that. Like how much could you perform at peak productivity? There's no promise in that. I don't feel anything specific. I guess if I've done a lot of peak productivity training, maybe that term means something to me, but then I'm going after a very small segment of the people. Like I'm gonna have to literally go after people that have taken Tony Robbins' programs or done wealth types programs, Brendan Burchard, people who actually use the words peak productivity, peak performance. So I would try to get more specific and draw on words and things that, because you're going out wide, that audience would have a connection to, and then slowly bring them into the whole what peak productivity even means.
For Breakthrough Mastery, I assumed that this person was warm. We talked about how most of the people that are going to be targeted for this have gone through the mastermind program. And so they're not now in the content portion of the cycle, and the angle is it's an emotional ad, and Jeremy is describing it's a video like that gnawing feeling of not living up to your full potential, even though you're supposedly doing well. And the hook would be you are not crazy. There's more to life than this. Or what would you be doing if money wasn't a factor? Tell us in the comments. I don't know. Maybe it would be a good idea to talk about the free Breakthrough Bootcamp.
Sure. But both very good. I can kind of visualize. And what's really good is that both of those topics are very good for him. He would perform well in those topics. They're high level, they're emotional, they're connection based. That's where he performs the best. So cool. Yeah, and so you went with the more content. So we that would be like what we would be doing with him to kind of warm people up and get him to engage with us until we hit him with something that's specific about the webinar. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. Esther?
I wasn't able to get to the Breakthrough Mastery one.
Okay.
But,
did you do another one?
I did the paleo diet recipe book.
Okay.
So type of person that I was imagining was from the same field industry, like a career woman who wants to have a healthier lifestyle and relax energy.
Mm-hmm.
But this time I also added the fact that she was overweight and was determined to change her life. So then the angle that was coming from was to use the determination that they have to change their life and to drive them to look into the paleo recipe book. And then it would be like the paleo diet gave me energy, lose weight, and keep it off. If I can do it, then you can definitely do it too. So it's like trying to relate to the audience member or
Okay.
the customer. And it goes into I've done it all: eating only vegetables, extreme workout regimes, cutting out all sorts of food. All I lost during the whole process was energy, but the weight stayed until I and
Got
then
it.
it goes into. But if you're consistently, but if you're determined and to change your life, then
Is it a video or an image underneath the text?
it's well, I want the first one to be like a video, and if you click next, there's gonna be like image saying.
Carousel.
Oh yeah, carousel.
Okay. What's the first video? Tell me a little bit about the video.
I was thinking it would be like the author, personal statement from the author showing their own before and after pictures, like what they've gone through,
Got it.
to be able to relate to the viewer.
Yep.
And then mention in the end like how they're going to provide like 10 free recipes, so at least even if you don't purchase anything, you can walk away with something.
Got it.
And then the picture that will come after will be like a happy looking avatar that's beaming with examples of paleo food in the background, with a large text box next to them saying get my free 10 free paleo recipes.
Great. Awesome. I love it. I don't really have any. You went with, so what I was looking for, which you hit on head, because you said early on, you said I'm going for the connection. So I wanted to hear image or video that would have the before and after. And that would work very, very well. The copy at the top was very good. It was drawing in. It was story driven. So you'll see, typically if you want to write copy to draw people in, you're going to write story, you're going to write content, or you're going to write stats. If you have some really amazing stats, like 78% of podcasters retire by the time they're 35. Like, you know, that sounds like a cool stat. Like, throw that out, and I'm going to get intrigued and say, what, why, how? So usually those are your three buckets to pull upon if you really want to draw people in: story, content, or stats. And so,
Like using a stat just directly.
what's that?
Even for the hook, like using a stat
Yeah.
directly.
Yeah. It's got to be a powerful stat,
Yeah.
right? So if it really makes your point, you know, 78% of celebrities use this particular diet. It's like, again, you better be able to quote it, know where it comes from. If one day Facebook, if enough people flagged it, Facebook might come asking for it. But typically not. They don't care about that. So as long as you have a truthful stat. Those are three like pillars you can really pull on for ads. You can go content, story, or statistics. And it depends on, again, what you're trying to do. Like in this particular case, it's if the person selling the paleo diet is a woman, if that's the brand you're representing, then you can automatically assume that about 75% of her customers are going to be women. And so if you can assume that, you double down on it and just go for that market. Like if I'm running her Facebook ads, I'm just going to have her do a emotional, feminine story, connection, woman to woman, and I'm going to go to Facebook and I'm just going to tick women only. Like, don't even bother showing this ad to men because they're not going to connect with it. But perfect. All right, we're gonna do some more. Well, let's go outside. Abraham, do you wanna go over one?
Yeah, I got one here for that's blueprint.
All right.
Pretty much like build an online business with just your email address and stuff.
What's the first line?
Build an online business with just your email address
Okay.
and our secret software.
Okay.
So in that it's like with our secret software, you can build a real business that can last a lifetime.
That's the rest of the message at the top.
No, that is just the this is the subject line.
Are we talking about? Are we doing Facebook ad right now, or what are you doing?
I was doing a Facebook ad. Yeah.
Okay. So subject line. You mean the first line, right? At the top of the news, the whatever they call it, the post.
Yeah.
Okay. Read the first line to me again.
So with our secret software, you can build a real business that can last a lifetime.
Okay. So I like it. My only challenge is it takes a while before you connect to them. So with our secret software, I threw a lot of words that had nothing to do with them. It's all about me. It's our. You can build a successful business. So it's almost, you said it differently the first time, and I would have liked that more. Where I think the first time you said, build a successful business using only email and our secret software.
Yeah.
So I would prefer that one because that's more, right, the beginning of it is more about the other person and it catches them faster. And then you turn to, so build successful business with only your email and our secret software. I could see that working. I like the secret software part, Chris, just enough intrigued to make me want to hit see more, assuming that that's what you're going to talk about more. What would you see coming after that line?
So it's like pretty much building a connection where you go in and saying, well, probably already have a business, but they don't use email. So you want to take that business to the next level, and you didn't know that email was actually the most profitable business model around.
So after that headline, you're choosing the rest of it to write about why email is the best to do?
Yeah, because why you didn't know this yet if your business is stagnant at this point. So it's like pretty much resonating.
Okay, but you're also making the assumption that they already have a business.
Yeah.
So so my only challenge with that is most people don't already have a business. So you'd instantly be alienating all of those people unless your targeting was set as such that you could actually know that. And we would rarely ever do that because it would really eliminate, it would turn a 4.5 million person audience into like 100,000, if not. Because I can go to Facebook and say, everybody who likes Robert Kiyosaki and also is self-employed or mark themselves as a business owner. But I'm going to literally go from 4.5 million people down to about 100,000, maybe 200,000. And the way Facebook does it is Facebook literally says they're going to charge your CPM based on how small your audience or big your audience is. It's the easiest context here to tell you guys about Facebook is that they say, oh, okay, you want us to show your ad to only 200,000 people, you're going to put 2 qualifiers in, you're making us work harder, we're going to charge you more. You want a more targeted audience, we know that means more to you, we're going to charge you more. We're actually finding it a lot better in Facebook right now to go after larger audiences and get our message so nice and well and tight that we go after a larger audience, but we let Facebook optimize and find the right audience, but then they don't penalize us. They don't charge us for that. They charge us less money for it. So if I put a headline out, something like build your business using just your email and our secret software, when you guys hear that, what do you want to know more about right off the bat?
Secret software.
The way that's positioned, email gets overwritten by the secret software. I'm now intrigued by what the hell is the secret software? I understand what email is, but what do you got? That's like exactly where my mind first goes. So the rest of that, if you wanted me to click see more, I would probably say make it about the secret software and then blend email into it. So it's more like we have a software we built or we invested $400,000 building a software that within a few clicks will allow you to put a business up where your email address can turn into a revenue. Now, let's talk about how that works. And then you talk. So now you're talking about both the software and the email. But we both know that they have to first be sold on email in order to buy. Software only is a secondary part of it, right? No one's going to say, I don't want to do email marketing, it sucks. But man, the software's so awesome, so I'm going to buy it. Like, they're going to first say, wow, I really want to build an email marketing business. This sounds great. And then say, and you've got this amazing software. But in that first line, that hook, it just when you finish reading it or when you finish saying it, my head literally went to like, ooh, what software? What software? Like, secret. What is that? So I would say 1 or 2 more lines about it, just enough to get through that see more button and then pivot and talk about what I know they need to hear. But I'd hook and dangle them. I'd use the secret software as carrot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what goes below it? Did you think video, image? What were you thinking?
It was an image.
What's in the image? Describe it to me a little bit.
So in the image, it's pretty much like dollar signs, I'll say, and then where most of my revenue comes from. So
Okay.
in there, it kind of shows the dollar sign. It shows me smiling, and I'm just like, this was my
Okay. I have a mental image. I feel like I'm watching like a rapper. Like it's just got a big chain with a dollar sign on him. I could see that. I'm not sure if Robert Kiyosaki's team would approve that from a branding perspective, but I get where you're going. So absolutely, get where you're going. Does anyone else has anyone else in an ad that you guys want to share outside of the 4, and then we'll come back to the 4?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When would you use an image versus a video?
All the time. There is no and or. We do both.
Okay.
We target both audiences. It's really hard to know which does better. We tend to favor video only because video allows you to build retargeting audiences based on viewership. Images don't. So if I do an image ad, I can't retarget people who saw that image ad. video ads, I can sit and retarget people that watch just 3 seconds, 10 seconds, or whatever. But sometimes we get too video happy and we forget that images really do work too. So our team is pretty good at doing both. We tend to do both. We balance both of them out.
And how does the copy change?
Doesn't. Nope. The copy does not change above the image at all. The image we can talk about definitely gets catchy. Again, the image has to be what will make people stop. That's really the only question I need to answer. And recently we were watching Sam Ovens had a webinar that he did about it, or a training, and he made a really good point. Something that we had never done in the past, and already we've seen the benefit of, is that don't make your image look ad-y. If it looks like an ad, then people tend to scroll over it, except for the times when it should look like an ad. For example, LearnFest, 90% off, like that's an ad. The whole concept of that is a few days, wham bam, thank you ma'am, awareness, and we're not going to show that to wide audiences. We're going to show it to only people who would see my face and stop anyways because they have a connection to me. So in all other cases, that's why, you know, lately we're using more like lifestyle pictures, like me going like a selfie, something you would expect to see from a friend of yours anyways. So it's not threatening, and then the message above it draws you in, and boom, now you're in. So the image, in many ways, doesn't like those images I was showing you of Sam Ovens and stuff, like the one where his like wife is hanging off his back and he's in front of a helicopter. If you actually read the copy above it, it has nothing to do with that ad, like that image. But it's a cool image on a mountain with a helicopter, so it draws people in. Makes you at least stop. That's the whole job. This is the only job of the image, is to make you stop. That's it. All right. Did you want to go over any more that you've written?
Sure. The escape book. What does Damon John, Les Brown, Bob Proctor, Robert Kiyosaki have in common? They all love Anik Singh's new book, Escape. This book has decades worth of information that took Anik from being a broke college kid to a multimillionaire who drives a Tesla. Sorry.
I don't. I don't drive a Tesla.
Pardon, I wouldn't put that into the ad.
She drives a Tesla. Yeah. His wife drives a Tesla, who himself walks to work so that she can drive a Tesla. But anyways, I get where you were going.
Yeah, and the best part is it's free. Why free? Once you read the book and see the value, you will want to create your own business, and his system will be there to help. And then have an image of the book with the triangle and escape spelled vertically. Employee, self, catapult, authority, people, and at the top, shining, kind of like the Luxor, entrepreneur.
Cool. I like it. So I have to do this. So I'm gonna pick on you. My name is pronounced Anik.
Anik.
Yeah, it's all good. But
What did I say?
what do you say? Anik.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I heard it, and I saw
Yeah.
your face too.
I don't know. I see people say it all the time.
Good to know.
Yeah, if we were just crossing paths, I wouldn't even bother. But if we're gonna be together for weeks to come, then I just wanted to be like, look at the awkward moment out of the way right now. So it's not like a month from now where I'm like, hey man, you've been like saying my name wrong the whole time. And
Anik.
you know, or worse yet, you're like on a team call and like, then you say my name wrong, and then everyone's like, have we been saying it wrong? I love it. I would. The first thought that came to my mind about the actual image was actually, because you said, what do these people have in common? Was literally an image that's like split in four, and that perfect shot where they're holding the book, boom, 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 boom. It's a little bit promotional, so it certainly doesn't look natural. It looks a little bit placement, but again, right, for something that's like $8, and we have overwhelming social proof, we'll deploy it. It's okay. We'll make it look promotional, but it's like we have this much social proof for something that's cost this much. So I'm happy to do that. Your image sounded fine too. You were focused on the triangle. That could get people actually to stop, to just kind of, they want to just read it, like if the word's on it. If that alone works, that's fine. It got them to stop. Yeah. Or you could actually literally do an image where it's not, it's all for all of those people you mentioned in the image, but just an image of them, not holding the book. So then it doesn't look promotional, and you're not giving away what it is until they hit see more. But their face is there, and their face carries value to a lot of the people we target. So cool, I like it, very good.
For podcast blueprint, I guess my angle for this one was kind of gunning for people that already
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought I'd lead directly on that. So, hoping with struggling to lock down another revenue stream for your business. If you haven't heard, podcasts are in right now. Then I cite the statistic, 1/3 of Americans listen to podcasts regularly. Then I go into like benefits of how it can help your business.
Cool. I like that. Maybe a little bit stronger first line.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more punchy. So, 33% of American, your business is currently not accessing 33% of America. Here's how. Does it necessarily make sense? Like, no, but it's catchy enough. Like someone could, you're going to get that person comes back and argues, oh, well, that's not true. I'm accessing them through Facebook ads. Like, but it's like, it's catchy enough and it connects enough to make a point. But everything else about it was great. It's just that first line I tried to make a little bit stronger. Anything? Yep.
I have a different angle on the book. I don't know, this like for the escape book. It could either be a retargeting ad or just to get newer audience. So I'm not sure how many books you sold, but like over 30,000 copies.
30,000, yeah.
So over 30,000 copies sold in 30 days would be the headline. And then, do you want to be successful? Ani teaches you the traits of millionaires and billionaires. And here's what people are saying about the book and testimonials of actual people. And then maybe like a collage, like a picture of a collage with people
Holding the book.
taking selfies
Yeah.
with the book.
So that's a great retargeting ad. It's
Yeah.
I would say it's not even just a great retargeting ad, it's a great warm audience ad. So people who are connected to me who have maybe heard a little bit of buzz about Escape but haven't bought it.
Yeah.
It's a great ad for them, and you're playing up on social proof. And the first thing that came to my mind when you said 30,000 sold in 30 days, right after that said, do you something?
I said, do you want to be successful?
Do you want to be successful?
Yeah.
First thought that came to my mind was, do you want to be left behind? Because it kind of going for that like,
Retargeting ad.
yeah.
Like, don't
yeah, exactly. Because you're going for like 30,000 other people have done it. Like, what's wrong with you? Type of effect. But your ad was great, so I that was perfect. I have no comment on that. Esther, Olivia, you guys got something?
For inbox blueprint, I'd probably change this after we've talked about it a
Sure.
little more. But so this is a cold person, and so the angle is a little bit more generic. I put more subscribers in less time, but another one that I just thought of was like, kiss the rat race goodbye with an email list. It's like just archaic, talking about how the program changed his approach to internet marketing.
Okay. So on both of them, my review would come back to the whole like subscribers means nothing to the majority of the people, and even email list means nothing to a majority of the people, right? It's like, what do you mean email list? So it depends on what segment you're going after. If you're going after a retargeting segment, then maybe it means something to them. But that second message in there, that you might be able to pull that thread, which is, this changed my entire perspective on how I do business. Like, that is interesting right there, right? Because it's generic, and here's someone who's Robert Kiyosaki, who's very wealthy, prominently known to be a smart businessman. What could possibly change his entire approach to the world of business? It creates that curiosity, and then you go into story. But you were going to say something?
No, it's well, I was gonna say instead of email list, what if I said tool, or would it still be like too far removed from the audience?
It could work. It could work, but I think we could do better. Like I really love that the last part that you kind of fell into. Like I would pick on that one. I think that I would literally say something like, after selling over $200 million worth of products, or whatever the number is, let's just say, this one secret changed the entire way I run my life or my business or whatever. Because that just and then you get into, hey, have you heard of email? I'm sure you have. You probably have an email address. Did you know that alone could be worth millions of dollars? And then you start to talk about it. So now you connected with them on something that's going to make them want to read, and then you edify email, explain email, and now say, if you want more, here's my free blah, blah, blah about it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Esther?
So this is for the podcast blueprint.
Podcast blueprint, okay.
And the angle I'm going at is to appeal to
Okay.
So it'll be, like, do you have a business and want to gain more attention? Why not go into the untapped market of people who listen to podcasts? Gain the attention, increase revenue, and your audience with less competition. How? What's the secret? And it's gonna be like see more podcasting, and then give statistics of people who listen to podcasts and how they can tap into these audiences and gain potential attention to their business with these audiences. And there'll be like a picture with a cartoon of a young entrepreneur sitting in front of like a mic or a recording booth,
Mhm.
smiling with maybe like a thumb up, and a window in the background with a bunch of people listening in with earbuds or headphones.
I love it. I would make the first message a little bit stronger, where I would say, read your first one, just the first couple lines to me.
Do you have a business and want to gain even more attention? Why not go into the untapped market of people who listen to podcasts?
Got it. So, do you have a business and want to access a market of 1.2 billion people? Right? And then go and talk about, I mean, I just made that number up. I don't know if that's how many people watch or listen to podcasts. I don't think so, but you know, whatever the number is, it'll be impressive. And then explain how this is the number of people that log into iTunes every day to download a podcast or blah, 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 and you're missing out because you're not joining them on their car drive, and you're not with them during their jog, and you're not with them in the times that they're not scrolling the internet or reading your emails, but doing something else. And so like you kind of explain, and that a person's like, crap, she's right. Like I'm not, like I give, you know, yeah, people spend, did you know that, and then I'd get more into stats too. You can come up with another stat to do another ad, which is like, did you know 78% of Americans spend more than 45 minutes a day driving? What if you could be talking to them during that 45 minutes? Like stuff like that will really take someone, like I'm just literally telling you things that if you said to me, I'd be like, crap, you're right. Like I'm not giving my audience anything to absorb of mine during that entire dead time, right? Like you just told me like, hey, I like listen to, you know, audiobooks on the way here and there. So it's like, I almost feel like, you know, if I had a podcast, I'd be like, why don't you not listen to books, but listen to my podcast, right? And it's just, that would be more time that you and I would be talking to one another. So that's a cool angle to pull on. So great overall post, great everything, just needed to be a little bit more specific. So, and I want you guys to notice something as I review your ads. How many times have I said, repeat the first line to me? Because that is like 90% of the battle. Pretty much what you say after that, you have a lot more freedom. But that first line, that is just so key. That's just going to drive the entire ability of that ad to perform, is that first line, is what we say in the very beginning. Does anyone have anything, any other particular ad that they want to run by me? Do you feel more comfortable just in the last 2 years? Are you getting a grasp of like this hook and angle and understanding the person? Are you guys getting this better? Like how to write messages that tailor towards people? Do you want to spend more time on this, or do you want us to move forward a little bit? We're going to kind of keep revisiting this over and over because every piece of copyright we have to ask these questions again and again. But do you want to have a deeper discussion on it? Do you want me to throw more examples up and kind of analyze and dissect the person, or do you want us to move towards now getting into actually like writing copy?
I'd actually like to hear what your definition. I have a full, solid grasp of hook. I want to hear what your definition is of angle.
Angle. They're kind of the same. That's why I say hook and angle. They're pretty much the same. So an angle is what angle am I approaching something? Pretty much hook, right? So I'm going after the Robert Kiyosaki database. What angle am I going to use to get this 4.5 million people that are staying there? So I've got a huge audience. People are like, hey, I want to be more successful. Well, that's great. Now what am I going to say to them to get myself a segment of them? So like to pull them from that large pool to like, okay, I want you to join me in this room. What angle am I going to use? Then I got another room over here. What angle am I going to use? I'll put a bunch of people in that room. And then what angle am I going to use to put a bunch of people in the third room? The eventual goal is all 3 of those rooms will come into one room. But I'll use different, like here's the nurses' room. So I'm going to use an angle, right? My angle is nursing and nurses and talking to nurses. But here's my get out of the, are you tired? Like one of the angles that works the best with Robert Kiyosaki's audience is like fire your boss. You hate your boss. Like your boss sucks. You know, bosses are like the worst thing on the face of the planet. So we got like our hate bosses, you know, room. And so all of them are talked to a little bit differently, but it's really the same. It's an interchangeable term, hook and angle.
So kind of in my mind, then what I hear you saying is
Mhm.
How am I pitching them? I mean, what is it that I'm saying to these people to draw them in?
Yeah. That a hook is an angle is really what I was to say. What are you saying them to get them to stop? Right? If I went to an engineer and said 35% of nurses that come to us become millionaires, he'd be like, fine. I'm not a freaking nurse. Like, what? That hook or angle won't work with him, right?
Right.
Versus if I went to a nurse and said 35% of our students are nurses and we turn them into millionaires, she'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm listening. What? Like, what do you do with nurses? So that's the hook and angle. So it's really about like, yes, what am I going to say to you to get you to stop?
Okay.
That's a hook and angle. It's actually a very good way to like just give a small summary to that. Any other questions so far on the topic of hook, angle, person, getting someone to stop, getting their getting their attention?
How risky can you be? Like,
Oh, now we got a marketer in the room when that question gets asked. How risky? So give me an example. What do you mean by risky?
like, you know, you're trying to catch someone's attention. You want to stay on brand.
Yeah.
But now you're like, sometimes, profanity or you're tired of the BS or
Yeah.
something. A
So-
little bit more.
That's purely driven by two things: compliancy and brand. Right? So for me, even if compliancy allowed it, I would never allow cursing to be attached to my brand because I just don't do that. I'm a little bit edgy. I don't have a problem with a little edgy because I can get in people's face in my ads and my videos. But versus if you did my kind of, if you showed one of my ads and put Grant Cardone's face on it, he'd be like, "What the hell is this shit? This is wussy. Like, come on," And so your level of risky is directly correlated to the brand and what it allows.
Okay. And maybe even like a comedy or like quirky or
Yeah.
meme or.
Yeah, exactly. So even if you're gonna get like with me, I'm not the biggest fan of like goofy pictures and stuff like that. Like I like it for the right demographic, but if I'm gonna go wide and I'm gonna try to bring new people into my brand, like I don't want like the goofy to come out first. Goofy comes out once they're like they know me and connect with me, and like I'm willing to like kind of like be a little bit more vulnerable with them and show them who I really am. But if they're coming in, I want them to come in like I want authority, I want posture, I want people that respect me, I want entrepreneurs, I want people that are serious, and I want tire kickers get out, right? So I'm going to take a little bit more of that. Like that's why we like newsreels and big audiences, stadiums, stages. Like it's like, hey, this place is real. Don't mess around. But you're going to get other people that really lean on that. I mean, we were talking about Chris Record earlier, right? He goes after the same market I do, but he likes to do it by making rap videos. He likes that, so it works for him. And he also brings in a younger demographic. There's another one of my friends, Dan DeSilva. He's 22 years old. The guy dresses in clothes that I don't understand, right? He wears, clothes I look at, I'm like, now I feel like my dad when I was dressing when I was like in high school. I'm like, what the hell are you wearing? But he's got his Lamborghinis. He's Mr. Cool. But I look at his like following. He literally came to me one day. He's like, man, what do I got to do to get an older following? And I'm like, man, what do I got to do to get a younger following? Like literally, But that's his brand. That's who he is. And so our brands and how we do ads is also really determined by who we attract. And so if you come to one of my events, you will see my core audience is like these 60-year-old women. Like I got that market down. Like I don't know what it is about our events. We just have older women. I always joke with Andrew. I'm like, when I turn 60-year-old, you better watch out. You got competition. But it's everyone will come to me and say, you know what? I feel through your video the genuineness, and you're just real, and you just tell it like it is. So I attract that audience, and lucky for us, that audience tends to be spenders. Like they got money.
So do you want more of that? That's the goal, or is there like a new kind of person?
That's the goal. For me, that's who I am, because that's my natural state of being. And I don't want to create a personality or an avatar for social media that's not who I am, because then it's just the stress of living two lives, right? I just want to be who I am. And the right people it'll attract the right people, and it won't attract the right people. I will say this, I want to get a little edgier, because that's who I am. Like if you came to me crying and whining about your problems, you will hear my answers, and they are not soft and cuddly at all. So that part of me needs to be out on social media a little bit, because, and that part of it's not that it's not gone out, or that we try to hide it back. We just, on social media, we just started literally like a month ago saying, hey guys, we got to put like content videos out there to warm up our audiences. And we haven't even had the chance or the conversation to go and actually sit down and say, okay, what content videos? It was just, we just started putting some stuff out there. We didn't have a chance to even analyze or study. Like I, for the first time, sat down, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, I think I told you, Stuart, when I was like, it's like a week ago, when I was like, I actually sat down and looked at Dan Locke's true videos that he scales for a new audience attraction. And I was like, well, I know how I could take that video. He's being a little bit more in your face than I want to be, but I know I can cover that topic, and I happen to have a video that covers that topic. It's right here. So I just started doing all of that right now. Abraham.
I was just saying, based on what you just said, I know a guy. He's Indian. His name is Ramit, and what he does is he goes for like the same angle where I'm your surrogate Asian dad, so I'm gonna call him all this bullshit.
Are you saying all Indians are the same?
Huh? No.
Sorry, I had to say it.
And that's what he does in all his emails. It's pretty much like, well, you complain about this, you always say you don't have time, you actually do. So it's like he calls you out on those things. And all his emails are about content, and just like 90% of his emails are about content.
Yep.
Stuff. And then the 10% he just charges like 1,000, 1,500. But that's what he does. Like over and over, he's gonna give you content, and then every once in a while he's gonna give you like.
That's from selling to serving, right? So what we're doing at Learn Nation over time is just, we're gonna get to a point where, we already have 140-some thousand people inside the Learn Nation, and we haven't even really started professionalizing our communication patterns and our systems with them. We're gonna have 1 million soon enough. It's just a byproduct of what we do. It's definitely gonna happen. It's a guarantee. It's a matter if it happens in 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. That's the only question. And I think when you have 1 million people, you don't have to sell anymore. Like, you just say what it is, and you be true and be honest and be real, and enough of those people, if they love and trust you, that's the key. If they love and trust you, then enough of the people that are interested in that topic will come and buy it. And if the ones that don't, 2 weeks later, you'll have another program that you announce to them, say, okay, now we have this program, and then again, the people that love and trust you, the right ones will come and buy. So really our goal I'm moving more and more towards, slowly though, it's gotta be a slow transition, but towards this whole like, just serve all the time. More books, more podcasts, YouTube shows, more social media, more content, more free courses, more people, more big authorities published on the platform, so that the whole aura and the whole feeling about Learn Nation is just one of total domination, trust, and reliability. Then everything else comes and takes over. Here's your hand up.
When you say the term scales, exactly is that referred to?
How did I use it?
You were talking about something about some other person's, I'll just say Dan Locke, how he scales his videos.
Yeah, so scale basically means like, okay, I might do a video right now where I talk about copywriting. Here's a 5-step formula to using words to sell better. Look, everybody who has a business, you better be able to sell using the written word. That video will probably do very well with my warm audience. Because anyone who's in my warm audience is someone who's expressed an interest and shown that they want to build an online business. They probably understand what the word copywriting means, right? But if I took that same video and tried to show it to Joe Smith, lives in Wisconsin, follows Gary Vee, is it going to mean anything to him? Probably not. So that video doesn't scale. Something that scales means something that you could show to larger audiences and keep getting larger and larger and larger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So an ad, when we say this ad can scale, you'll hear that all the time. Scale it, we'll say in our Facebook team. Like, okay, scale that ad. That basically means, hey, it's doing really well. Raise the budget. Show it to more people. Let it get wider. Go after a wider audience. Pick an interest. Instead of only going after warm now, let's start taking cold markets and try this ad on cold markets. It's doing so well. So that is you scaling the ad. It's just the audience is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Is it removing the demographics of who you're going after when you're scaling it out? Say women 35 to 50 making 100,000. Do you slowly start peeling away those layers?
That's one way to scale.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one way to scale. Another way to scale is just, we don't usually do those demographical In this company, at least, we don't typically do that. We don't have, most of us, like, we're seeing constantly 50-50 on the women and men. We don't really see one prefer over the other. Someone like a Dan Locke, I can damn well guarantee you, it's men-driven just because of his way of talking. But in our case, it's pretty 50-50. Also, from the age perspective, we've kind of seen, we tend to do 23 and above. I don't really speak to the younger audience. And also, our programs are much more expensive, so they tend to not engage with our deeper funnels. And if they don't do that, then they're not someone worth yet for us to pay for. That's kind of where we stop. We don't get that specific and get that deep into things. I'd like to get to a place where we start segmenting out things like for nurses and for this person and for that person. But something that scales, the way we like to scale is, and this is like definitely, I'd have to do this in like a Facebook course, but you start with like your clickers and action takers. That's like your hottest audience. And then you like go a little bit wider to like your warm audience, and those are people that have maybe liked things, been around you, watched a video, maybe opted in on one of your things. And then you go a little bit, you go what I call lukewarm. And lukewarm is going to be someone who follows the Onyx Singal interest on Facebook. So Facebook thinks they're interested in me. Not necessarily they've engaged with me, but Facebook says, based on the things that they've done and watched, we think they're interested in you. Okay. And then you go cold. Cold starts being, well, I'm going to target this ad to all followers of Gary Vaynerchuk. Why? I don't know. I feel like the kinds of people like Gary Vaynerchuk typically tend to be more entrepreneurial, like money, like wealth, whatever. My book will make sense to them. And then if that's doing really well, then there's one more level of cold. We'll say, you know what? Forget brand or like people. I'm going to target anyone that says they like the word entrepreneurship. That goes like one level bigger. And then beyond that, the last level, which we've been actually having some fun with, is we just say, Facebook, I target everybody. I do what you want. Here you go. The Facebook will come back and say, your target audience is 350 million. 2 thumbs up. Go for it. But here's why. We only do that when we've given Facebook a tremendous amount of pixel data, and Facebook is smart. So Facebook is not just going to start showing it to everybody. They're going to use that data to who's engaged with your ad well all this time. When you took it from hot to warm to lukewarm to cold, they have gathered so much data. And so so what happens, the best part about doing that is you make your audience so big, Facebook says, oh, okay, well, we'll charge you less. Thanks for the freedom for us to move and maneuver. But then they anyways show it to the people that needed to be shown to. And I think we're having good success with that, right?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah, I have one ad set that's zero tax targeting at all, and it's crushing the campaign itself. All the other targets, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you do it by conversion or engagement?
Conversion. Yeah, anytime we're going to go that wide, it's conversion driven. We want to make sure that Facebook is optimizing by conversion.
And you still adjust the demographics and the location?
No.
No demographic, no location, nothing?
Location, yes.
Location, yes, just because
Okay.
we want
Countries, top 5.
Yeah.
top 5, yeah.
But nothing else. Not even placement, right? We even let Facebook do their own placements.
I narrowed it to Facebook newsfeed and
Okay.
You
So,
don't do the age either, right? Like above.
no.
I did 23 or above.
Okay.
Kind of kept that the same.
But we don't break it down into age groups and then run different things. It's just everything, we let them have it. All
Yeah,
right.
'cause that wouldn't work right off the start. It would just been blowing money. But like over time, like since it starts with hot, Facebook started picking like, all right, so if you chose like a very specific demographic like women or nurses off the get-go, and then started from hot and worked your way out, Facebook will just start realizing that, oh, we want nurses, this demographic, this age, these women, in this kind of employee status.
Yeah.
And when you start broadening it or going shotgun, really you're just not turning it into a shotgun, but turning it into 50 sniper rifles shooting out.
Yeah.
That's finding women that are nurses.
Yep.
Broader audience.
Exactly.
That was a good description, by the way. 50 sniper rifles as opposed to the shotgun.
Yeah.
Still precise and pinpoint,
Yep.
but
But wide and scaled out. Yep. Any other questions? Nope. All right. Do you have, is that what you went to get? Ah, yes. Oh, dang it. I thought you, I really thought you had the dongle. Like, I thought you like read my mind. I'm like, dude, if you did that, that is just freaking brilliant. Like, we're at a different wavelength. I'm like reaching for it. He's like, you want my nuts? Like, all right. I kind of am hungry, man. Like, but here you go. Yeah. He's like, all right, bully, take my food. All right, we're going to talk about subject lines next. As we kind of move into the email phase, we'll keep revisiting, but I cannot stress enough. You can be the best writer in the world. If you don't understand hooks, angles, and getting the right topic to address the right market, it's all waste. So please keep working on this. And so this will be now an underlying assumption. So as we move forward, every single time I say write a subject line, write an email, or write me a sample outline of a workflow, or write me an outline of a VSL or a written sales letter, first question, who am I talking to? What's my hook? What's my angle? What am I going after? What are their pain points? What are their objections? What are their goods? What are their desires? What are everything? You got to go through that. It will instantly make everything you do 10 times better. All right. Now, with email, the reason I brought this up is because we'll actually sit and just focus on subject lines for the rest of today. I'll make it bigger so you guys can see. Is that, I can make it bigger. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Sean?
So the questions that you had yesterday, like what are the deepest goals and deepest desires and biggest pain points, those would those be the typical questions you would ask?
Yes.
Like at any time?
Mhm.
It's like write me this, and then you have those questions like
All the time. If you're writing copy, if you're writing a written sales letter, those questions will answer your subheadlines, right? So, so when you have a sales letter, right? You have a headline at the top, then you have messaging, and you have subheadlines that kind of show the flow of the story. So it's almost like if you wrote a book, you'd have a bunch of chapters. So it's like the title of the book would be the headline, and then each subheadline is like a chapter. So your pain points, desire points, obstacles, objections, they are going to define and help you come up with the right subheadlines. They're also going to be the ones that help you come up with the right subject lines for emails and the topics for emails. And they're also going to be the same points that help you come up with the right ads for Facebook, YouTube, and et cetera, et cetera. That's why if you sit down, if someone comes to you, like let's say right now we're building a campaign for Digital Bootcamp, right? We're doing a whole campaign we're reviving our inbox blueprint promotions, Digital Bootcamp, and all of that. You're literally going to sit down before you know what's coming. Like, you know you're going to have to write email workflows, you're going to have to write sales pages, you're going to have to probably write action pages like opt-in pages and webinar registration pages, and you're going to have to write ads. And so you're going to be, your task list is going to say write opt-in page. So innately, the human nature is just I want to write an opt-in page. I'm saying take a step back and say, I know all of this is coming down. Who, what, where, how, when? Who the heck am I going to talk to? Who's going to engage with this campaign? Who would want to build an email marketing business? What are their pains? What are their desires? What are their goals? And if you can actually write that down, if you can actually have a page where you just take time to write that down, it's going to take you about 15, 20 minutes. But then for the rest of the campaign, man, you've got this printout that you go to. So it's like someone comes to you and says, write me, hey, we need 5 Facebook ads. 5 pain points. Boom, 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 boom. Ad done. Hey, we need email workflow. Let me just work my way through these, and I'll just organize which of these I want. Hey, we need a sales page. Awesome, glad you asked. I'm just going to organize these into a flow. So you literally make the rest of it so much quicker. Okay, so let's talk about email. Does that answer your question, by the way? Okay. Subject lines. So what is the core purpose of a subject line? We went over this yesterday. We'll just refresh it again. Get them to open the email. What could stop them from opening the email? What could stop them from seeing your email?
Free, dollar signs.
No, I meant what could be an obstacle?
Spam, promotional.
Spam, promotional. What else can be an obstacle from them opening your email?
Lack of interest.
If it sounds like you want something,
Okay.
like that selfish intent of what are you giving me, if it's not like that, then
Say the question one more time.
So I just sent an email blast. You got it. It's in your inbox. What could stop you from noticing it, opening it, engaging with it?
Bad subject line.
It's not what you said, it's how you said it. It's the confidence with which, like, that's like someone saying, well, what's a red pocket? And it's a pocket that's red. Yes, a bad subject line would do it, but Joe, have you
I see what you're saying now.
have you
I'm
considered
sorry. That was really stupid.
have
I'm
you
sorry.
considered a career in comedy, like legit?
I actually wrote a whole stand-up special that's like 30 minutes.
I would like to hear it one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very much like Grant Cardone. You know?
I got a stage for you, and I got a bunch of people that'll fill that room in. I really see this coming for you.
You're about to be fired, Joe.
AKA, sorry, get another job. That's your full-time job.
When you said Grant Cardone like tries to offend people every day, I was back here and I literally was like, the dream.
Well, I mean, that's every comedian's dream.
Yeah.
So, back to the topic at hand.
Anyways.
What could interrupt you? Yes.
Uninspiring subject line. I mean, something that just, I mean, what do I care? I mean,
Yeah, it's blah.
yeah.
To Joe's point, bad subject line.
There you go.
I don't care.
So the answer I'm looking for is the simplest. You guys will always find, like, I'm almost at like the simplest level, and everyone goes like way levels above it and tries to be all creative. I'm just like, it's like the simplest answer.
You're just too busy.
Not specific.
Nope.
Don't tell me what it is.
The timing of the email.
Yeah, but not. You ready?
It's like I don't, no interest.
Okay. So the answer
How often?
is other emails.
Massive amounts of other emails.
Oh, you just get other.
You're competing.
No, it's so simple.
Joe gets it. Joe, do you want to come up and teach the rest of the class now that you get it? You seem to have figured it out.
Obviously.
He literally picked up his phone. He's like, oh, I get this. I don't have to pay attention now. I'm like, I'm good.
Oh, I get it. That makes so much sense.
I'm done. This
Why
is
didn't
good.
I think of that?
This class is stupid now.
No.
You could have just sent me this in a memo. I don't have to be here for
No, I'm
this.
just like, oh, that makes sense. Shorten it to a subject.
Every class I ever teach, there's always one person that I pick on. And usually at the first day I figure out who it is. Today was the second day. So you are now the target for the rest of the 2 weeks.
It's okay.
The rest of you are
I
safe.
was all through high school. Too. It's okay.
All right. Other emails. Before you, so literally think psychology, think psychologically about getting somebody to open your email. The first challenge is you got to get them to read your subject line. You could write the best subject line, but if no one's going to read it, what's the point? So you got to stand out from the rest, right? And timing is actually, that was a good answer. That's why I said kind of, but because timing does play into that, right? When we send an email, like for example, Sundays, I always send an email at 12 p.m. Eastern time. You know why?
You're home from church.
Yes. East Coast, at least, right? And Ty Lopez likes to send emails at 11 p.m. every day. 11 p.m. night. And so I asked his team, I was like, what's with that? And they said, people have grown to expect it from us. Everyone seemed to notice that we were mailing at night. So it became his little thing. And they're right. They're absolutely right. I've come to expect that Ty Lopez will email my inbox at night. Well, here's the other benefit of that. No one else is emailing at night. Everyone's fighting and gnawing, right? So lately I've been more loose about like when we want to email. I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. But lately I'm also trying to think like, maybe I should mail like at random times because when I'm not competing with other people. So there's almost like this genius behind mailing at 11 or 12 because it's like no one else is mailing. And let's face it, most entrepreneurs are up late, aren't they? Most entrepreneurs tend to be up late, at least until 11 or 12. And it's like that email comes through. Now the downside of it is if they don't catch it that night, by the time the next day comes, it's buried. Tons of other things have come in, so it gets missed. But honest to God, I've never. It's never timing-wise. It's never been one of those things where it's like, oh my God, when we mail at 6 a.m., we have a 28% open rate, but when we mail at 7:05 p.m., it's like 5%. It's never been that drastic. It's usually marginal, and so that doesn't carry much of an impact. But what does carry an impact is all the other emails that are there. So the very first thing, funny enough, is an email that sounds like a promotion, first of all, might end up in the promotions tab at Gmail. So that's why I wrote it down too. These two are absolutely going to be a big hindrance for you. Remember, copywriters, you talk to robots before you ever talk to humans. So your copy's got to get past the spam filters and the promotion tabs. Now, considering that 50 to 60% of consumers now mostly engage initially with everything you do via phone, promotions tab is not as big of an issue because on the phone that stuff doesn't exist. But same rules will apply to a subject line that we talked about in Facebook ad. So prime example, if I did urgent, big discount now, screaming at someone, sale, sale, buy, buy, buy. I'll get their urgent. Yeah, well, I mean, I'll get their attention maybe, but they're going to be like, oh. Right? Depends. So again, the gray. Black Friday, subject line will crush it. It's just that's what they're expecting, right? But then again, I might make this more specific on Black Friday. I might say urgent, 85% discount, 2 hours. All kinds of things. Now, there's a few things I love to do. So what are some ways to make your subject lines stand out? There's characters you can use. All right, we'll do an example. I am big on this. I remember I promised you, you're going to hear me say this all the time, visual flow. Subject lines can separate themselves out by visually looking different. All right, not necessarily using emojis and all of that. The jury is still out there about emojis. The way spam scores work, I told you, right? You can have like a certain score. Same thing as compliance. Like, so Google basically, in its like algorithm somewhere says, well, anything below 40 will get delivered. Anything above 40 is not going to get delivered. So the minute you use an emoji, it's like 25 points. So you can still get emails delivered with an emoji in the subject line, but the rest of it better be damn well clean. Completely clean. You make 2 mistakes in the rest of the email, and boom, the email goes to the spam folder or promotions folder. So I tend to not mess with emojis in subject lines, but more and more lately I'm seeing people do it. So they must be kind of loosening the noose on that a little bit. But you can use characters. So let's show use of characters as an example. Suddenly that subject line begins to change. So I literally do this. I'll take the same email. So let's say, I don't know why I caught on to this. This is a bad example for a subject line, by the way. This subject line is good for a very specific environment. This is not a good day-to-day subject line. So please, I want to be on the record with that. But now that since I have it, I'm going to dive into the visual flow. There's this is literally what I do when I write subject lines. I sit for a few minutes and I spend more time on my subject line than on any part of the email. And I just take the same message and I just keep writing it again and again. And I sit back. I literally would just sit back and be like, okay, I don't know why. I just don't like this one. Like, it just doesn't, it's just weird. So I'll just delete it. Then I'll stand back and look at it again. What do you guys think? Give me kind of your thought process or analysis as you're looking at these.
The second to last one. It's been the one I've been staring at.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I do too.
I like the last one if it's 2 hours only.
Yeah, it's the only. I agree. Okay, that's why I like that second to last one.
Great. Talk more about it. Is it just the only, or is there anything else?
It's the only.
I like
It's
the
the only
only.
because it tells me this is going on right now. If I miss this opportunity, it's gone. It's only for 2 hours, so I have to make a decision
Yeah.
now.
So all the other emails can wait.
Scarcity.
This one can't.
Urgent to me looks like spam as opposed to saying 2 hours only in the front.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
okay, I have 2 hours.
Yeah, the
I
time
need to read
has
this right
already
now.
started.
Yep.
I gotta make a move.
But
Start.
I want to see only 2 hours only in the brackets.
It was like a general.
So, do you want to tell him your story about?
I unsubscribed from the list.
I need to, dude. I was at church and I got an email. I was like, Joe, I'm very disappointed in you. And I was like, what? And I clicked it and it was like, disappointed you haven't bought my book. I was like, oh my god.
But listen, hold on.
Freaking out in church.
That may
I was like, what?
that may irritate you guys only because you have a personal connection to me. But imagine how quickly you leapt to open the email. So imagine someone who's that. There's a reason I do that. So we'll talk about that. That's like Jedi stuff that I do to get people to open. Yeah.
How do you know my name?
What'd I do to you? So I'll never forget when you were angry. She like yelled at me once. Steve was still in India. We weren't married yet. And she's like, stop sending me these emails. And I'm like, but that's what I do. Like, I'm an email marketer. She's like, every time I get your email, I think, it's something to do with me because I'll send out stuff like, hey, are you there? You know?
Call me.
Hey, yeah.
Call him.
She called me once. She's like, hey. I'm like, hey. She's like, what? I'm like, you called me. What do you want? She's like, you sent me an email that's saying call me. I'm like, oh, that was a blast. Like, why would I email you? Call me. I'd text you. Like, what's wrong with you? So one day she's like, that's it. I unsubscribe from everything. And I'm like, whatever. All right. But there's magic to that. That just shows. And I'm very, so some of my subject lines start to violate a lot of the rules only. But again, it's the segment, who you're talking to. So for example, I'll send an email today. And then tonight, what I'll do is I'll build, within the email system, you can go in and say, hey, build me a segment of everybody that opened the email this morning but didn't click. So it like builds you that like segment of the few thousand people that opened the email but didn't click. And I'm going to send them a subject line. I'm going to send them an email that night that'll say, it'll literally say something like, Esther dash, what's wrong with you? Question mark. Right? And you're going to open it and be like, why wouldn't you click the link? Like, I'm offering you a free book, and you literally open the email, read everything, and aren't serious about enough to click the link, at least to explore more. And it works like a charm. Now, you can't overuse it, right? You do it all the time, and people unsubscribe from you. But in the right situations and scenarios, I deploy it every now and then. But I wouldn't necessarily blast my whole list with that. Sometimes I do. So there's a concept we can talk about in subject lines that I call blind subject lines. And so this is something, if you hear me say, but there's always a very innate purpose and reason behind blind subject lines. It cannot be overused. If overused, they will destroy your brand and your effective relationship with your list if overused. But we're back to characters. Do you guys see, however, so, the jury is out, but I would have gone with one of these, like with one of these two bottom ones. Or this one. Sorry, it was going to be either this one or this one, and then when we added the only in the bracket, my only problem with that is making the words in the bracket, it's too long.
I agree.
Right? So it's not making the brackets close enough to really get that impact. But, like, do you put this much thought, you think a normal person would put this much thought into a subject line? But I do. This is why my stuff just works better. I'm sitting here, I want to make sure the damn thing looks right. And also, using these characters and brackets and things, it immediately separates from the emails above it. Right? Yes?
Do words like urgent and discount trigger the spam filter?
Great question. So for someone like me, no. For someone with a 4 or 5% open rate, yes. So Google changed the way they do email stuff about 1.5 years or so ago, and it's been great for us because it's allowed me a lot more freedom to say a lot more things and do a lot more things, but it would probably hurt people who already had lower engagement. But like I said, they've changed their spamometer, and now they've made it per person. So the same email might go into her inbox, go to his promotion box, and go to your spam box. Because
How can you tell?
you can't. That is all based on your user's engagement. So they're tracking your specific, like what you've said spam to in the past. And they're like building a profile around you. And then they're also noticing that this particular sender, you've not opened an email from them in 6 months. and 3 other people that are like this person in this sender you've marked as spam. So you know what? Let's just remove them for her. Versus him, they're like, you know, this guy's engagement with this company is very sporadic, in and out, and usually very quick and short. He tends to go back a lot. It means he doesn't really like to read their emails very much. Like, they're tracking all that. So you click into an email, the clock starts. They're tracking how long you're there, if you're scrolling, if you're not, if you click, if you don't, if you come back again and again and open the same email over and over and click again and again. See, the more you engage with something, the longer you're there, and the more you click, that automatically triggers to Google that it's a content email. That's the only reason, for the most part, you're going to come back again and again and read it and again and click a link. If your engagements with the emails are super short, bam, bam, in and out, in and out, in and out, you know, every time they send, and sporadic, then all of a sudden Google's like, this person doesn't really have a great connection with this person, so we're going to do promo tab. And Google, you don't even know this, Gmail is actually, they split test. So what they'll start doing is put some of my emails in your promotion tab on some days, and then some on some days I put in the primary box on purpose, and they track to see how you engage with me. They see that every time I end up in the promo box, you don't seem to be really opening, but most of the time I end up in the inbox, you are opening. So they're like, oh, okay, we should give this person more visibility because he likes his emails. He does open it when he sees it. Does that make sense? But this is on a person-to-person. So if you have a 1 million-person email list, that is a person-to-person relationship they are determining. And it was, for the good people doing good things, it's a good thing. It hurts those who are spamming the system. Yeah.
So when you're looking up like the percentage of people that open an email, you can only see like broad picture statistics. You
Yeah.
can't see like individual.
You can't see it. I mean, yeah, you can. Your autoresponder can tell you who opened and who didn't, technically, if you want. Because I can build a database. I can go to my autoresponder and say, put everybody who clicked a link in this database. Move them. I can also, I can get crazy. There's some really cool stuff you can do with email databases now. I can create inside of SendLane, which is the company we use, I can create a trigger. So I can literally send an email and set a trigger up right from the moment I send an email, where I type 2 emails. So what I say is, I can set up multiple triggers. So if I send an email, I can tell SendLane, look, anybody who clicks the link, within 15 minutes of them clicking a link, send them this email. Everybody that opens my email but doesn't click the link, within 15 minutes, send them this email. And everybody who does not open my email within 1 hour, send them this email. You can set up all kinds of crazy triggers. You can do multiple. So if you have 3 different links in the email, you can set up different triggers. You can actually start using emails to do votes if you really want. Like literally, you could say, click here if you like red, click here if you like blue, click here if you like pink. And then the system will just track how many clicked what, and then you can go into the system and see how many people are in each. There's easier ways to do that, of course. I'm just saying it's that specific now. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with emails. Different platforms allow different things. I can just tell you what SendLane allows. But we have, do a lot. So characters and the usage of characters are really important. Now, let me give you an example of a subject line. So, how to lose weight quickly with this free guide. You can download it now. I see this all the time. It's like, stop trying to sell in the subject line. What's the purpose of the subject line? The purpose is to get the open email. That's it, right? Or my favorite, we'll get something like the 8 steps to making more money, online. It's like vomit. Like, how is this going to set me apart from everything else in my email? Like, it's just not. It's boring. It's probably a good headline. It's not a good subject line, though. Or you could literally say, if you're Robert Kiyosaki, Robert Kiyosaki just sent an email out this morning. It was an awesome subject line, and I have it. I'll find it for you guys. It said something like, why my employees hate me. I haven't read it yet because I was literally on the run, but I know who writes his emails, and I was like I wanted to send him a text, but awesome. It was a great email. I already know the angle he's going to use. It's going to be something about 401ks and all that bullshit because he doesn't like 401ks, so he'll probably be like, oh, I don't offer my employees benefits, and here's why. And the reason I believe in gold, so here's my product on gold. Like, it's going to be a total pivot. all right? But that's like, now he can't always do subject lines like that, right? So whenever we do Learn Nation emails, it is now, I've built it. I've built there's something you can do with subject lines to build consistent patterns, such as what Ty Lopez did with like everyone just expects his emails to come at 11 or 12. This right here, this is sacred now. Any email going to the Learn Nation database will always have bracket, Learn Nation, close bracket. And that will be our code. That's our subliminal conversation with our audience. That no matter what emails I'm sending you, because you might be in multiple funnels getting multiple emails, but that one, that is a State of the Union address. Like, you got to open that bad boy. That's talking about what's going on at the Learn Nation. And it shows our open rates consistently, without fail, 20 to 30%. It's 20% if my open rates are, if my message is a little bit more promotional. Like lately I've been sending like Learn Fast, 50% off, blah, blah, blah. My open rates are like 20%. And the minute I change it up and I send something about a free course or a blog article or whatever, it'll go 30, 35%. Like clockwork. And what's cool is it was the same when it was 30,000 people, and it's the same when it's now 145,000 people. Because we are just ingraining that into them. So that's the only time where I'm going to have very consistent behavior. Other than that, I don't like to be consistent. So if I were to take this email and turn it into something a little bit better, I might say something to the effect of, I could do something like this. I just don't like the subject line at all. I would change the whole angle around. I'd look for like what else is going on in that subject or in that topic, to pick on something more specific. Like, if I was writing a subject line for the paleo, what was the athlete you said? Kobe Bryant, right? It'd say Kobe Bryant eats these 3 foods. So if I'm going to go with that, I could look at this and then I'd start playing with it. I could say Kobe Bryant, and then I'll test like capitalizing each of the, or I would say Kobe Bryant, 3 foods that help him win. I already hate that, so I'm not going to do that one. Did you see, like, just keep doing this until the right one just pops out, and you're like, yep, that's the one. That's going to nail it. So, but you got to get it short and effective and make it stand out, not long drawn out. Don't make it boring. Look to see if there are consistent patterns you've set up so that that audience will recognize your subject line. Another thing that helps you immediately set apart from everybody else, numbers. You'll see this specificity, specificity, specificity always will help. Numbers are awesome. Human minds are drawn to numbers. And it makes a lot of sense. In a sea of letters, numbers stick out. Right? So when you're looking at a list of all these subject lines, numbers stick out. So your eyes tend to flock towards them. Numbers make things more specific. Numbers, like a list of 8 things to do, 8 foods to eat, it creates open loops instantly through the subject line, so people want to open it to close that loop. So numbers will really help you out. Brackets and characters will help you stick out. You don't always want to do capital letters. And so, for example, if I'm going to do a subject line that says, hey, because you can do this, right? You can insert first name by using the code that the system offers. Versus which one would make Joe think, crap, Onyx upset with me? More like the second one. So when I send a personal email, I'm not going to take the time to capitalize the first letter of every word, right? So do you see how every scenario I'm applying? Here it was right to capitalize the first letter of every word. Here it is not. I'm looking at the purpose of the email, the audience I'm talking to, where they are in the funnel. All that stuff comes back. It's all driven by the moment and the person I'm talking to, right? Whether I go for capital letters, whether I go brackets, whether I do lowercase, whether I do straight up front in their face discount, or whether I say a blind. So this is what I call a blind subject line. More examples of blind subject lines.
Is it because it just doesn't tell them anything?
It's just meant to get an open. So we'll do some emails sometimes. I don't know where this term came up with, but I'll say to someone who's writing emails, I'll say, write me a click-happy email. I want clicks. Click-happy. And everyone who does emails for me just knows, I know what you mean. Why? Because whatever the purpose is, the page does the talking. I feel very confident in the video or in the subject line of the page or whatever. So I just want people to show up there. So very, very, very rare. We don't do this often, and I'll never do this with the Learn Nation database, but sometimes at certain segments I'll do, the subject line would say, and then it'll say, this is the email now. Hey, I made a video. It's really important. It's about the book you just ordered. Please don't wait to respond. Go here. This is my example of a click-happy email. Why? It's going to get the highest percentage of click-throughs. Because I'm intriguing. I create just enough intrigue. I say just enough. I connect with you in some way. And then you're like, what's wrong? You're going to click. And then this is one of the few scenarios in which I am relying upon the efficiency and the impact and the effectiveness of my landing page to do the rest of the talking. Won't do this all the time, but sometimes I will. So there's a prime example of where a blind subject line made a lot of sense. But can you imagine like constant back to back to back to back to back to back to back blind would be kind of a pain. Robert Kiyosaki is someone who, they don't use blind subject lines, but they tend to use a lot of subject lines like why my employees hate me. And like little catchy 3, 4, 5, 6 word. That's kind of, they've made that their trend. That's just how they go. So it's fine. I mean, it works for them. They have awesome open rates. Any questions? Okay, sure. But there's not much more to it to explain. That might be why you're confused. It's blind because it doesn't tell you anything. It's very open. It's like, hey, do you have a minute? Hey, this is urgent. It's literally like a subject line you would send to a friend or someone. You didn't have much time and you were just like, literally you're doing something, you're like, oh my God, and you just sent them something. So it's very open. It's completely driving off of curiosity. It's like what Abraham said earlier. Like, hey, I'm really disappointed in you. And Abraham's like, why? I don't even know you. But that alone, it would be like, I wonder why. Click. All right? It's meant, a blind subject line is meant to get raw. It's just raw opens. That's it. Because you believe your email is so good, it'll do the trick. And then the email could be blind because you believe the landing page is so damn good, it'll do the trick. So when I talk about getting clicks, when we talk about emails, I talk about this in List Academy, which is actually a really good program for everyone to go through if you really want to master how I write emails. I talk about the purpose of an ad or of an email. The purpose of an email really is just to create interest, create excitement, to edify, and to get the click. Those are the only 3 purposes of an email. To create excitement, to edify, and to get the click. Now, what do I mean by edify? Well, I made a video. That edifies what I want them to do next. If I said, I made a video, what do I want you to do?
Watch the video.
Watch video. Right? If I have a letter on the other side, like a long sales letter, I'll say, I wrote you a letter. If I want them to fill in a form, please take 30 seconds to fill out this form. It's really important. I'm going to let you know ahead of time. So I would say not all clicks are created equal. Not all clicks are created equal. I can walk down the street right now and convince people to give me their cell phone numbers by saying something, and then come over to the sales team and say, hey, you wanted leads, here you go. Or better yet, I can go to the white pages, write down a bunch of numbers, go to the sales team and say, you wanted leads, here you go. And they're going to call this person and be like, who are you? Where'd you get my number? You know? Versus the same person I walk up to on the street, I say, hey, I would like to teach you how to build an online business. And if you give me your phone number, I'll call you and we can talk for free for 30 minutes. Like, just give you a free consult. Just doing a case study for my company. Want to help you out. Are you interested? They say, sure. It's like, give me your number. How much more different is that person when I call them versus, hey, give me your phone number, I'll give you $10. Yeah. I identified what's going to happen next. So to create excitement, you know, in most times it fits. But let's face one thing, okay? Marketing is supposed to be exciting. If marketing is not exciting, then it's just not worth it. Why is Black Friday such a big day? Do you know that you could do, the same thing that happens on Black Friday on any other day of the year, and it would not be as big as Black Friday? It's because Black Friday has built that in. We wait for it. We think about it 2 months in advance. Oh, Black Friday is coming. Better save up my money. I wonder what deals there are going to be, right? And companies let you know a week, 2 weeks in advance. This is what we're going to release on Black Friday. And so you sit there in anticipation and expectation and waiting and waiting. What do movies do? What do video game systems do? They start releasing months in advance. We call that a pre-launch. A movie. A new Tom Cruise movie is coming out. What does he do for the 4 weeks before the movie releases? He is on every talk show you could possibly imagine. His face is on every bus as it drives by, so that they have that big opening night, because everyone's been sitting for a while, and that creates positive momentum. Marketing is all about building excitement and anticipation. So the minute your marketing loses that excitement, and so it breaks down even into something like this. So is this an exciting email? It's not exciting, but it definitely has anticipation in it. It's got a mystery to it. You're keeping someone kind of intrigued. The bottom line with marketing, right, is that the more you're in front of them, the more they think about you, the more likely they are to spend money with you. It's just simple as that. So right now I'm getting them to think. They're like, oh, what is it? I wonder what it is. I told you guys before, someone that I almost bought I don't know if I was this group I was talking to, whoever. It's like basically $100,000 mastermind that I've bought in my past that I applied for. I know for a fact that they just made me wait 2 weeks for no reason. It was part of the part. But during that 2 weeks, I mean, I kept seeing, and they were retargeting me, so I was seeing more and more about it, and I was like, man, what happened to my application? Did they get it? I didn't hear back from anybody. And then all of a sudden I get a text message. You know, we got your application. Thank you. We're processing it. Someone will call you. We have more questions. We'll call you tomorrow. I text back. Can we call now? No, tomorrow. All right. I wonder what questions they have. What do they want to ask me? You're like, it's pretty clear in my application. And then it's like, and it actually happened. The particular person with whom I applied for that mastermind, he has a very close friend that I don't get along with. We've had issues in the past. So when they said, we want to ask you questions, I was like, is that probably that guy? So here I'm making all these, and I'm a marketer, and I'm a copywriter, and I know I'm part of their damn funnel, but I'm still thinking, I'm like, I wonder if that guy talked to this guy, and that's why I'm just sitting there. By the time it came down, I didn't know the price, but by the time the price came down, I was like, yeah, it's worth it, whatever, because I've spent so much time thinking about it. So marketing should innately be exciting. So in your emails, nothing excuses you from that. Create excitement, edify, let them know what they're supposed to do next, and then get the click. Get them out of there. You know, don't sell your product in the subject line or in the email. There's no point in doing that. So what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to write some subject lines, and we'll do it for the same market and same target markets you're in. But I'm going to set up an email address by tomorrow. Olga, if we can do this, any email address, whatever. Like even can be just like a Gmail email. Just be like copywritingworkshop@gmail or whatever. So that people can email me their assignments and things, and I can pull them up on my computer and throw them up on the screen. So what we'll do is we're actually going to start writing copy, and we're going to start ripping it apart, reshaping it, and you guys will kind of see how I apply my stuff to it. But when you write copy, right now with subject lines, we're going to spend a lot of time on visual flow. Then we'll get into auditory rhythm. So even like if I wanted to read this email here, right, just to talk about auditory rhythm, I made a video. It's really important. It's about the book you just ordered. Please don't wait to respond. Go here. So I always say with auditory rhythm, I always say da 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 da. Like you can't. I know I sound retarded whenever I say it, but it'll be in your head, and I'm glad it will. Its verse is this: da 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 da. It's already getting boring, and that's how most people write. That's like my auditory rhythm is like probably beyond the ellipses with a space at the end of it. It's probably right up there on one of the most annoying things that people don't nail down. Visual flow actually is above auditory rhythm, right? But we're going to talk more about that. But that doesn't play as big of an impact in subject lines. But tomorrow we will move into emails, and we'll start working on emails and writing emails and talking about workflows and planning out workflows. So auditory rhythm and visual flow will become pretty intense by that point. Any questions about subject lines before we wrap up for the day?
When do you use the post-its, post-name?
When? Whenever you want. If you have it, I like to use it for the most part if I have it. I don't always use it. So, okay, I have to make an example. Like Learn Nation, remember we have, like I said, it's sacred now with Learn Nation. Like I always put bracket Learn Nation, close bracket. So I'm taking up such a large amount of space that if I put then their first name, it's just like, I don't have enough space to get a message to them. So I usually now don't put the first name for those. But if I'm doing escape, like I'll say bracket, escape, close bracket, you know, Andrea, did you see this? You know, or whatever. So it just depends. It varies. Use it whenever you want. Some people, I tend to use it sparingly, so I'll go in and out. Some people use it always. Most people now, you'll notice, most don't use it at all. It's not that common, but it definitely does stop you. Like if you see your, you know, we have an emotional connection to our name, so when we see it, we stop. Any other questions? Yes, no, maybe so. Cool. All right. Well, feel free to write some subject lines tonight if you'd like. You can go ahead and work on some of the same target demographics. We'll stick to the same products that you've been working on so far, and that way we can start tomorrow and jump right into it and go over them. Otherwise, we'll write them tomorrow together and work more on this. But you know, funny enough, there isn't that much more to be said about subject lines. We nail down the hook, visually make them look good, put a promise in there, make someone want to open it. Rest of it kind of comes in practice. So we'll practice some tomorrow. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.